Previously on X-Men.
Stay tuned and let's check out this Marvel Legends X-Men VHS Cyclops. Pow and welcome back to the channel, Dan Who Reviews. As always, my name is Dan W. Make sure you are following me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. And remember now you can hit that join button and become a channel member as well. Either show some love or join the members club. Much appreciated. Today we are taking a look at the Marvel Legends X-Men VHS Cyclops. Now, this is, of course, the 8th VHS X-Men release this year, so you know what the line is about by now. It is, of course, a tribute to that 90s animated X-Men series we hold so close, and an opportunity for Hasbro to re-release some popular characters, but they have added some cel shading to them to make them unique to the line. And the box art is an example of how good plastic-free packaging can be, and it's a nice gimmick. And if you've been collecting them all, like I have here, they do look great displayed together if you have the real estate. Yes, it's a little gimmick, but still, I appreciate it. I'm so nostalgic for this X-Men show. I will take it. But let's get back to Cyclops, as he is the 8th and final X-Men release we are getting, as Hasbro have already confirmed they're moving on to Spider-Man next year. So maybe they'll get back to it, but not right now. So last one for a while, 8th figure, Cyclops on the front in the packaging. There he is again on the side. On the back, we get a digital render and a little bit of a write-up that reads, Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, is one of Xavier's very first students and fights tirelessly for Xavier's dream as the X-Men field leader. Of course we needed the X-Men leader in this line before it went on a break. So let's get him open. Here we have Cyclops out of the packaging with all of his accessories, and I sort of say that sarcastically as he literally only comes with 3 extra hands. So you get 2 pairs and then a trademark pose. Now, to be honest, I would have liked more for the price point. At least an interchangeable head with a different expression would have made me feel a little bit better about my purchase. But as I said, this line has mainly been reuse, but at least this Cyclops is reuse of new parts, if that makes sense. So I will break that down. But first, I just wanted to bring in the previous Jim Lee Cyclops we got from Marvel Legends, which held up in the collection for a while. Bookie cap is true and tested, but in this day and age, Cyclops, the leader of the X-Men, definitely deserves better, and I do think this new version in the middle is exactly that. So of course the straps on this one would always fall down at the boots and at the thighs. I had to glue mine in, and also the strap up here was just a loose piece too. So yeah, this guy is definitely an upgrade, as they're using the legs from Morph. So as the year went on, the VHS line did start to get new pieces rather than just straight up re-releases. But if I take Cyclops out and bring in Vulcan, you can see here how they've sort of molded in the chest piece on Cyclops onto the Vulcan body. So you do have a completely pinless, brand new body here for Cyclops. Now, I think the only issue for people is that he's going to have cel shading, and we want this version without it for our comic displays. Shout out Robo, who's already showed people you can easily take off the cel shading if you're not willing to wait, because we know Hasbro are going to get there. So, of course, I'm going to break this down and do some more comparisons. But at first, let's just take a closer look at the newness. So starting off up top with the new head sculpt, it is a similar expression to the previous one, but it is all new here. As you can see, it's got like a thicker jawline. The hair is slightly different, even though it's the same sort of sweeped parting, and the visor's nicely done as well, as the red plastic is a separate piece to the yellow, so it does stand out nicely. Now, you can see on this side, it's all yellow. There is basically no cel shading on this side of the body, but if you're spinning around, all the cel shading and the shadows are here, all the way up the arm, all the way to the visor, as you get a little bit of orange. So you will not be able to just swap out this head and put it on the old body. The blues wouldn't match anyway. But all in all, this is a nicer new head sculpt for Cyclops with great range as well. He can bury the chin and look all the way up, which we need Cyclops to do, as his ability is all about those ruby quartz in his eyes. So yeah, no complaints with the head sculpt. Definitely better and improvement. So is this upper torso. Now, I've already said this is the Vulcan torso, as we've got the butterfly joints here and the double jointed pinless elbows, by the way, which are very nice. No complaints on that at all. And they have sculpted in the harness piece. No longer do we have a loose harness that's just sort of sticking out away from the chest or falling over the shoulder. It is now so seamlessly sculpted in to the chest. Let me zoom in here and show you. So even on the ab crunch here, they have sculpted in the harness piece, so it is seamless when you crunch him. So you see it there. Let me crunch him. You can see it just disappear. No break there in the design at all, even when I go back out. So yeah, very nicely done with the harness piece. All the way up here as well. That's sculpted in over both shoulders, as you can see. Very nice. Again, sculpted in on the back, so it's not loose. It's not like coming apart from the body. Down here to the bout. And yeah, all in all, very, very nicely done. Nothing to complain about. That is what we deserved the first time around. Really like this. Down to the bout as well. You can see the X logo there, the X logo there. Really nicely done. Underneath the armpit, you've got a little bit of blue shadowing on this side of the body. Again, here on the musculature as well. And then all the cell shading is on this side. If you stand Cyclops from here, like, you can't even see the cell shading. There's nothing. But you're spinning around this side, he's got the cell shading. So as I said, Robo's already showed us we can take that off pretty easily. You can see it down here on the trunks as well and on the top of the thighs. Now, this is the same legs as Morph, so they have very cleverly hidden the articulation of the body in the costume design. So you've got the thigh swivel there, very nice, and then the boot swivel down here as well. So it is seamless. You've got the double jointed pinless knees. Can he kick his own ass? Yes, he can kick his own back. So yeah, this is definitely a much improved Cyclops of the Jim Lee body. This is what we now need without cell shading, Hasbro, okay? I'm sure it's inevitable. They're going to do it, especially if they've tooled up this new piece. We're going to get it used again. But yeah, this is the Cyclops we deserve. He's bigger, he's buffer, he's the leader of the X-Men, completely pinless. Everything is sculpted in place. This is very nice. Bravo. Just for laughs, let's compare it to the previous one. So I'll get into accessories in a minute, but of course people are more interested in this comparison. So let me get the tape measure out so you can see that this new Cyclops again is on the Vulcan body and he stands at about 6.5 inches tall. So he's only a tiny bit bigger than the previous version, which I'm absolutely fine with. As I said, I always felt like Cyclops needed to be on a buffer body anyway. He deserves more than the old Bucky cap. Now you can see first and foremost, the blues are different, the yellows are different, and that sculpted harness piece makes such a difference to just the aesthetic looking at him in a neutral pose. As I said, the head sculpts are different even though it's the same expression. And yeah, all in all, let me throw him on the rotating base, let him spin around for a second so you can see for yourself. This is a solid upgrade. We have gone from Bucky cap with just added pieces on to make it accurate to Cyclops to now a completely new sculpted, tooled, pinless Marvel Legend that accurately represents Cyclops from the animated series. And of course, take off the cell shading and it will accurately represent him from the comics as well. So honestly, that's what makes me more excited here. You know me, I'm not massively into the cell shading. I've already came to the realization it's a separate display. It's a separate part of my collection. I now need this Cyclops for my comic display. But undoubtedly, an upgrade. Very impressed with this one. So back to the accessories. As I said, it's just interchangeable hands, but we do get a set of fisted hands, which is always nice for neutral poses and for fighting poses. So I do appreciate that for Cyclops. The other set of hands are these sort of more expressive, sort of grabby hands. I don't really know what you're using for Cyclops, but we did get them with Vulcan, so I guess they're just reusing what they have. And the last hand is in a pair. It's just the trademark pose for when he's shooting his visors, which is obviously what we need for Cyclops when you're posing him up on the shelf. And because he's got the nice range with the butterfly joints, double jointed elbows, he can do it no problems at all. So yeah, really like that. No issues. Perfect for Cyclops. Glad it's included. And let's wrap up with some comparisons. First up, we have the X-Men Trinity in their VHS cel-shaded format. We've got Wolverine and Jean Grey, aka Jellyleg Jean. Definitely not one of my favourites from this line. However, Wolverine and Cyclops are definitely up there. Those two figures are great. Honestly, solid representations from that 90s animated series that we love so much. And I think they scale beautifully as well. Now, Jean isn't the best, but what you've got to do, you basically just got to hide Jean in the background when you're displaying these and you won't even notice, okay? So blame Hasbro, but you pose them like that. Do you know what? Yeah, just move her out the way. There you go. That's better, right? Next up, we have Storm and Jubilee, and Storm is definitely another one of my favourites in this line. And let's bring all of the X-Men back on the table, including Morph, to see how they look together, because you do have more of an appreciation for this VHS cel-shaded gimmick when you display them on their own. For me, I'm not mixing these with my comic figures. They're going to be their own unique display. I've made my own shelf, and as I said, for me, the team isn't quite complete yet, as we still need Rogue, Beast, Gambit, and even Professor X before I'm completely happy. But we have Jean Grey, Storm, Cyclops, Wolverine, Jubilee, and Morph, and they do undoubtedly look great together, and they can even hide the terrible figures when you display them together. Like, Jean is not great, but you put her with the rest, and she just makes sense, even though her hair colour is not right. But don't get me started on that. But anyway, anyway, you let me know what you think in the comments below. I am sure we are going to see more VHS style figures in the future, even if they are on hiatus. As we know, Disney Plus are bringing back the animated series next year with the same continuity. So I'm sure it's not the last time we see animated style X-Men in Marvel Legends. Let's bring in some of the bad guys, as we have two of the cel-shaded figures with Mystique and Mr. Sinister, and then we have the retro carded Apocalypse, who is in his animated colours, so is completely fair game to go along with these figures if you're building an animated shelf like I am. So yeah, I think they work really nice. The scales make sense, as he is taller than Mystique, but not as tall as Mr. Sinister. And then let's bring in some comic figures, just so you can see how this Cyclops compares. So we've got Captain America, and then the very recent retro carded uncanny Wolverine on the yellow and blue costume, the completely pinless body, by the way. And if you remove the cel shading from that Cyclops, then yes, the blues and yellows match beautifully. And I've just plucked these off the shelf, another comic comparison with Wolverine and Jean Grey to see how Cyclops looks. And he scales really nice, but I can't help but stare at Jean Grey's warped jelly legs. I hate them. And then here we have Cyclops compared to his brother Vulcan. And remember, this Cyclops is an amalgamation of that Vulcan base body, so they stand at exactly the same height. And then we've got Darwin as well. And here we have Cyclops compared to Tigra, Frogman, and White Rabbit is in the background being a weirdo. It's not raining. And then last but absolutely never least, here we have Captain Britain. And oh, hey, look, Hank's got bored of the boombastic Hank gimmick. He's took that stupid paper bag off his head. Good for you, Hank. Here we have Hal, Fire, Hank. So, final thoughts on this Marvel Legends VHS X-Men Cyclops, the 8th and final X-Men VHS release of the year, and I am glad they got to the leader of the X-Men, Mr. Scott Summers, before the line goes on ice, as he was needed. He is a mainstay of that animated show, and it's nice to get him with some of the other heavy hitters before the line disappears for a little bit. I do think it will make a return, as there are characters we still need, but Cyclops is a worthy upgrade. We just hope we get this exact same figure without the cel shading for our comic display, as it's genuinely utilising the best in current Marvel Legends. That double jointed pinless base body with the newly sculpted harness pieces and the straps around the thighs and the boots cleverly hide the articulation. Honestly, very aesthetically pleasing, a much better Cyclops figure. We just need it without cel shading now, please, because this will nicely go amongst my VHS sort of animated display, but my comic display is now lacking. I'm a little bit jealous, so hopefully the 60th anniversary of the X-Men will make that happen in 2023. We just have to be a little bit patient. And you let me know in the comments below what you think of this Cyclops. Will you put this cel shaded Cyclops amongst your comic display? Not that there's anything wrong for that, each to their own, personal preference, but I'm always curious. Let me know. And also, would you like me to do a recap and ranking of this whole VHS X-Men line? Now we've got all 8 out, I reckon I should do a recap and ranking. You know, I like that. So let me know. And as always, you make sure you check out the videos tab, you find the playlists, but most importantly, please, 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 hit that subscribe button. Much, much appreciated. Hit that notification bell. Don't miss out on a video. And please, hit that join button. Become a channel member. Either show some love or join the members club. Much, much appreciated. You can follow me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. And I'm on Twitter as well, at Dan Who Reviews. And until then, people, my name is Dan W. And I will, of course, see you on the next one.